This is a review of set 75331, the Ultimate Collector Series Razor Crest. This set has 1,687 pieces and originally released October 1st of 2022 and retires this year of 2025. This set includes 5 minifigures and 36 individual bags. Upon opening the box, you'll be greeted with 2 separate artwork boxes with 2 different images on each box. Of course, box 1 and then a box 2 being the final one. Artwork box 1 contains a grand total of 19 bags. There's 4 instruction booklets total in this set, and for some reason they have a yellow background instead of a white, which is exclusive to this set. And of course, there's a giant sticker sheet. Of course, instruction booklet 1 has a bunch of different designer interviews, and they all look amazing. Really like all the images. It even has some stuff from the designer, and again, it looks amazing. They usually have it in every UCS set, but this one definitely has to be my favorite. Artwork box 2 has 2 more instruction booklets, being 3 and 4, and rounding out the bag total at 36. LEGO claims there is 5 minifigures in the set, of course being the Mandalorian, the Grogu with his pram, the Mithril, Queel, and it also counts the Blurg, which is the animal Queel is riding, as a figure, which is kind of weird because it's literally only pieces, and it also contributes to the final piece count rather than the minifigure. Obviously, the minifigure isn't contributing to the piece count, but apparently the Blurg contributes to the piece count and is also a minifigure, which is weird. LEGO says that on their website, but still, let's get into it, starting with the Mandalorian. Bag 1 of the UCS Razor Crest will get you the Mandalorian, who has beautiful arm printing, different on both sides, as well as an updated helmet, which looks very, very nice. Now, the 2019 one they're releasing the Place Called Razor Crest and the ATSD Raider is not much different, but it's definitely a solid improvement from the UCS Razor Crest one. It also includes the same face print from the N1 Starfighter, as well as a hairpiece, which technically we never really see him in this armor taking off his helmet, but I still think it's a really, really cool inclusion. And apparently he's rumored to be in the Mandalorian speeder bike for $10 on January 1st of next year, 2026. So hopefully that doesn't happen, because I would love, of course, to have an exclusive minifigure being the Mandalorian for the Mandalorian's Razor Crest, so it also wouldn't really make sense for the Mandalorian Grogu movie because he doesn't really go back in armor time, I guess, but still, it could be just from the regular Mandalorian show and just being because of the new movie. Hopefully it's not, but I wouldn't cross your fingers that it is. Of course, we get Grogu and his pram, which looks very, very nice. There's no exclusive piece in this, so you can build it with some extra pieces or just order your own. And honestly, it's definitely worth it. This is a really cool pram build. Sadly, you can't really have any closing stages and an opening stage. It's kind of 24/7 open, but I still really, really like it. Of course, the Grogu is not exclusive to this set, but we do get to have this little clear dish piece, which has different attachments in the actual build of the Razor Crest, which I'll talk about later, where you can actually just attach him and he can just be floating by, actually connected to the ship. But very, very nice inclusion. I'm very glad they included the pram. We also get to see the Mithril here, who comes with his own handcuffs, which is really, really cool, just like in the show. Sadly, he doesn't come with his own head mold, but I definitely understand that because Queel gets his own head mold, and the designers probably could only make one new molded piece, I'm assuming, and they used it on Queel, which I think I prefer better. This one isn't bad. It's still really, really nice. I like the torso print, no arm printing or leg printing, but still really awesome figure and a great one to include in the UCS Razor Crest, and will most likely remain exclusive to this set. Next is Queel, who gets his own head mold that looks honestly amazing. And they should do this for every Ugnaught ever because it looks so good. They haven't made one in a while. This is definitely the most recent one they've made. No leg printing or arm printing. He does get a little shorter legs, and I really do love the torso print. He also gets a little backpack, which is pretty nice, as well as a wrench. So really cool to include him in here, and is definitely a good figure for the set, especially because of that molded head. The 5th minifig is the Blurg, who actually looks very nice. He does have one sticker on the saddle here, as well as technically 2 printed eyes. He also has a little bit of a posable head here, which you can move around a little bit. The jaw isn't posable, but it's still pretty cool. You can also move the arms, both of them on each side. It also has a little bit of posable closability in the tail, and of course on the top a spot for Queel. Really nice build for the Blurg, definitely a fun and cool inclusion, but it's weird that LEGO counts it as a 5th minifig. This is what the display stand with all the figures look like. It actually looks really nice. They have like certain areas for certain figs, like the Blurg has its own little area, which doesn't really fully fit the Blurg. There's a little bit of his body like on the excess, but I still think it is a really cool addition. And of course, there's a spot for the Mithril. There's also a special spot for Grogu with a stud, which you can just attach, and he can fit really nice. The one thing I wish this set would have is a printed like display plaque. I really don't like how it's a sticker. I know there's other stickers in the set, but I feel like this should be the one piece that's not a sticker. But you can pause it here and look at all of the little like stuff it has, all like the model, the class, length, which is really, really cool in its own, but I definitely wish it was a printed piece, but still looks very, very nice with all the figs on it. Of course, I'll start with the cockpit. The first flaw with this set is how it doesn't perfectly line up with the cockpit, so it's not smooth through the entire cockpit. Still, I think it is a really cool little build that you have, which you can still pretty easily remove. Sadly, they are stickers, so they won't perfectly line up, probably, unless you're like really good at that. It also has an adjustable like front seat for the Mandalorian, as well as a bunch of control panels, and you can actually lift up this with the 2 extra seats in the back, which is really accurate. Then you have the little doorway here, which you can push open, which fits very nice, and you can also fit Grogu on this specific stud here. You can go flying with his pram. It also has a reference to season 1, I believe episode 12, called The Passenger, where Mandalorian transports these eggs for a frog lady, which looks really, really nice, cool detail in the back. It also has this little hole there where the ladder will be, so Mando, of course, can like climb up, which is actually a really cool feature that which is also sort of the beginning of the interior, so you can lift this up and see a little bit of the ladder, which isn't really adjustable. You can see the ladder more clearly here. You can also see Mando's bed, which you can remove, and you can actually sleep on it pretty nice with 2 like 1x2 jumper plates that you can see there. It also has a little like back divider, I guess. It also has a reference to a Mandalorian episode where Grogu had to fit into like a very small area to fix the Razor Crest wiring, which you can see right there. Pretty cool wire detail. Reattaching the cockpit is pretty easy, and before I move to the central wings, I'll talk about the side of the Razor Crest. You can see the landing gear, which is sadly not retractable, but I would be hard to like imagine how you would make it retractable with still being very sturdy. The wings are pretty heavy. Sadly, one of the flaws is the stickers. The gray of the sticker doesn't really match up with the gray of the piece. Sadly, they use it a lot, but this is the same on both sides. You can lower down a hatch as well as a second one, so it's like even more accurate. You can have like Mando or Grogu standing there. It actually looks very, very accurate, and of course you can display it from both sides because it has 2 hatches on each side. Here's what the side landing gear looks like. Very, very nice and cool. Glad they actually included some landing gear. And if we move to the top here, we have a really nice escape pod here, which you can just grab out and see the interior of it, which can fit a minifig nice and snug. Technically, there's nowhere to actually fully attach him, but still, he can fit really nice. For the lid of the cockpit, you actually use 2 1x2 like translucent pieces that aren't even connected to anything. That's like the main center like thing that you can see through like the window, but they're actually literally just like pressed against 2 pieces, so they're not actually like touching any other piece, at least like connecting to any other piece. They're kind of just like using, I guess, an illegal building technique. So I actually thought that was a really cool detail to build. But I will move over to the engines and touch on it a little bit. These are some really nice builds for the engines here. And of course, it has it like focused when it's moving forward. But if he's like slightly slowing down or like stopping, you can like extend these. I don't know why you put them on display, but you can do it for both sides. If you want to recreate this certain scene where the New Republic pilot, I guess, steals his line and then he stops for a little bit and then blasts him, technically these do like go out, so it is still a really cool feature. I don't really think it's supposed to be a feature, but it just comes with how they built it. Besides removing the giant wings, you can remove these two separate pieces here to reveal even more of the very detailed interior. I'll start with the weapons rack, which has a stickered tile of Grogu and a couple Orbesh. And you can open these two doors. It's actually from the show, which is really cool. It has like almost every Lego blaster they have, some long blasters, even some gunmetal gray ones, which looks very, very nice. Close that up and fit that back up pretty easily. And of course, it includes Boba Fett's armor, which I will show here. You can see it in the side there. I'm not actually going to take it out, but rather show it on the Book of Boba Fett figure in itself here. Technically, the jetpack and helmet are inaccurate using the wrong color of green. You can see the darker green here on the chest plate is what it's supposed to be for the helmet and jetpack, but I still think it's a really cool inclusion that they include it in the UCS Razor Crest, but I won't really count it because it's not technically exclusive to the set or is only in the set or was the first one to have it in here. It also has two people frozen in carbonite, one of them being like the gunslinger from the Gunslinger episode. I'm not sure what his name was, but I believe he got frozen in carbonite, looks a lot like him. And of course, it has a Rodian here, which is maybe even reference to Greedo. It probably isn't Greedo, though, because that wouldn't really make sense, at least timeline-wise, but does include the freezing chamber, which is actually really cool. You can fit a minifig on the two jumper plates here, and then through these like nozzle pieces, it's supposed to like spew out like carbonite steam, and then it has all of the like different detail from like the masonry bricks, and it actually looks very nice. I'll show you guys how the mithril looks in here. Here's how the mithril looks in here. So he's literally being frozen in carbonite like episode 1 of The Mandalorian to recreate the one scene. It is really, really cool to have this in here. Of course, you can put other figures technically in it if you have figures from other sets, but he's the only one that really would fit it in the UCS Razor Crest. You can't really see him when he's actually like in there, so I wouldn't recommend putting it in here. And that's more of a display set than a play set, but I still love all the cool details that they included in it, and it probably has the best interior of any UCS set. And moving all the way to the back of the ship, there is a little bit of a hanger, which just barely pops out, which you can pull down pretty easily, and then it starts getting a little bit tighter and harder to pull. You pull it down to whatever length, and then there's another thing that you can extend there. So you can have like Mando walking out. It even has the cool like hinges that it has in the show. And I believe you can sort of fit the blurg, at least not with Queel in it. So that's a cool way to like have the Queel like enter the Razor Crest. And of course, to put it back up, you have to tuck this part in and then push it back up. It gets a little bit harder. Then it sort of fits like cleanly to a certain tile that is sort of like indented. So it is pretty easy to pull out, but you still can see how clean it is down there. So really, really nice detail they have there. Someday I'll probably do a comparison of both the Razor Crests, the UCS one, and the 2019 Playscale one. But here's a quick little showcase on how big and small, I guess, they look next to each other. This one literally looks like so small compared to this one. This you can literally pick up with one hand. The Razor Crest you have to pick up with two, and there's actually a certain way the instructions show to hold it, which I'll show right now. Hopefully this set doesn't come crashing down, but here is the Razor Crest. You kind of have to hold it, like lean it against yourself, so it's not really swishable. You can see it's a little bit angled towards my chest, but Lego shows to put one hand by the doorway here and one hand on the like hanger bay in the back, so it perfectly like balances. I would definitely recommend holding it closer to your chest rather than just straight forward, because the engine might be able to tip over and then it'll completely destroy the set. But that is a really, really cool to actually hold this in your hand. It's not too difficult. It is a little bit fragile though. But that is a review of set 75331, the Ultimate Collector Series Razor Crest. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Have an amazing rest of your day, and see you all in the next one.